Success in Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
And welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network, and cycles go up, cycles go down. We don't understand why, and we're in the midst of some killer ones right now. They're going in directions that you never thought possible, which is why we have David Gurwitz with us now from Charles Nenner Research and Company. David, welcome back. It's been a while.
Yeah, Kerry, it's always a pleasure to chat with you, really.
Hey, likewise. So what is going on with stock markets right now? They've gone to levels that so many of you never believed possible, but here we are. And as well as the metals, precious metals, energy. Well, we haven't even talked to you in a while where we saw energy took the most amazing hit. You were predicting Nat Gas taking a huge hit. Then you caught on to oil as well. Currencies, dollar became king for a while. Now it looks not so much. Why don't you just go down the list, David? Tell us what you got there for us.
Great, Kerry. So let me go through, I'll zip through everything: stocks, bonds, commodities, currencies, and economic indicators. And then you can cherry pick on a couple, because that's how we look at things. You know, we cover the stocks, we cover the bonds, we cover the commodities, currencies 3 times a week. Your listeners, who I have met quite a few of, they write in, are welcome to write in and get a free month's subscription to see what it looks like. So let's talk stocks, bonds, commodities, and currencies. I want to start with commodities and start with crude and Nat Gas, because as you know, we called the top in crude at 97. Remember, you get the research, so
Yeah, sure.
It was amazing. We didn't know why it was going to head down after 2-3 years of being in a range. Nowhere near this. It came down to the mid-40s. We called it up to 60. And today we wrote, let me read it. I edited it, but it was early this morning, so you think I remember?
Who remembers?
The buy signal given at 47 continues. We expect some short-term weakness. Only a close below 58.35 will give a sell signal. Nat Gas, believe it or not, we think is on an up move. And it's been up since our buy signal, up 35 cents. And we think actually Nat Gas is heading up. We think crude is heading up longer term also. So both will go back up, but nobody thought it would come down. And like you said earlier correctly, logic here, according to most people's A implies B logic, we don't think that way because we don't think we're that smart. We just know patterns, and how those repeat are almost difficult to argue with, especially when they've been right in the past. Charles called crude when he was on CNBC 5 years ago at 146, to head down tremendously 6 months later after they laughed at him on TV because he mentioned deflation. Crude was 49. So this is not the first time we've seen a 50 to 60% crude drop in a short time. Of course, how many people remember other than the guys in Texas? Nobody. I got a lot of Texas clients. They were a lot happier 4 months ago, Mm-hmm. Although the ones that listen to us. So anyway, so that's the crude picture. We think it will go back up. A year from now will be much higher. So let's leave it like that. Nat Gas, we think, is up for quite a bit. As a matter of fact, let me take a quick look what we were saying. And so those are the two things. You and I spoke about different aspects. Remember, in the wintertime, you mentioned to me different things that you heard about in terms of containers and all that stuff. And we don't use any of that stuff. We just assume that the numbers tell us everything. And so far, it seems to work. So Nat Gas, hold on a second. Nat Gas, we think, is up, longer term for another year and could really go up a lot. So we think that for crude and Nat Gas. Gold, which, you occasionally think about. I got to tell you, listeners, I actually learned more about gold reading your book than pretty much anything else. It's not the bad hair plug on Kerry's book. They should look at it. Gold is up into August, and target is, we've called gold really well recently. It's been a hard bottom since July. We thought it was going to go up a few times, and it didn't. but it just reached our first upside target. We think we have a few hundred, more bucks on gold. And then we have to take a good look to see whether it will go through or retrench after that part significantly. And silver seems to have a mind of its own, but also it could be up into mid-August. Okay, so that's the picture with crude, nat gas, gold, and silver. Those are commodities we cover 3 times a week. Stock market, we think it's going to turn down. We've called a target up to now, and it's, as you say, surprisingly strong, but we think it's going to come down. Bonds, TLT, the bond fund, is bottoming. Cycles are bottoming. We called this, and we think that there will be one more day to look for confirmation, but we think bonds will go up now, bond prices. And like I say, stocks, we cover it in the form of S&P, NASDAQ, and Dow, and then the VIX, Canadian, and then the Europe, which is DAX, FTSE, and AEX, which have been really volatile. We're on the sidelines there because while we've called it up, then there's more downside in both. And the TSX, same game. We think longer term this year, it's seen its highs. And the VIX is, we have a target, if it closes above 1440, first target is 1575 and then 1840 because cycles are up. So that's the stock bond picture, commodities, and then currencies. Basically, the dollar's been strong for a couple of years. Last month and a half, we said the euro was not going to par, which it did not. It went the other way. The pound was strong. The Aussie has been strong. And so, you're right. The dollar is showing weakness. We think longer term that will continue. And then yesterday, and when people listen to this, if they write in, they should request the economic indicators we covered. Let me read you the 5. You saw it yesterday, Kerry, but let me read them. We covered 5 economic indicators. We don't do these that often. Economic indicators 1 through 5, unemployment, quarterly cycles. Unemployment was down strongly in line with our cycles. Now, however, cycles are bottoming. We expect to see a reversal next year, meaning more unemployment, which is not good. Well, I won't say that. It is what it is. Second one was PPI, producer price index. Cycles were up. It didn't move. Now cycles are down, should signal weakness in the economy. Third was CPI, consumer price index. Toppy cycles for the consumer price index also point to weaker growth. The fourth economic indicator was non-farm payrolls, and those are topping. So it makes sense that unemployment is bottoming and payrolls are topping because that indicates less people working. And the fifth one we covered was ISM, Institute of Supply Management. And many people don't know about that one, but that's also topping. So all the economic indicators we looked at indicate weakness. So we covered commodities, we covered bonds, we covered stocks, we covered currencies, and we covered economic indicators. Those are the 5 things we covered.
What about emerging markets? You didn't mention them.
Right. We have not, I'm going to be honest, we haven't looked at that for a while. Let me look at some of the stuff we cover every Sunday to see. Well, I shouldn't say that. We did cover yesterday Malaysia. So Malaysia looks positive. And therefore, we looked at the currency, the euro, Malaysia, right?
Right.
And that the bounce for the euro Malaysia continues to the end of the year. So very interesting. It's funny you should mention that. We have not really covered EEM in a while. I'm looking at the last few weeks. On Sundays, we send charts, as you know, and we just have not covered anything emerging. We've covered mostly big name stocks and the stuff in the update. I'm looking at yesterday when we sent out Taiwan's not emerging. Cycles are down. Hang Seng. We didn't see much follow through after the big up move, and cycles had topped. So basically, Newmont, we said buy a few weeks to 3 weeks ago, still up. We could see 29. Copper looks toppy. So overall, it's not such a great story.
Apple. What about Apple?
Don't know. Our system hasn't. We called it very well a while back, and then when it switched its number, we haven't been getting such good reads on it, so we're not putting anything out on it.
Okay.
Good question, though.
Yeah, it's one bellwether stock. Really is a bellwether now.
Oh, yeah.
And important stock because I think so goes Apple, so goes the country at this point.
Kerry, I'll tell you something. It seems, I don't know if that's true. I mean, it could be, but I because there's a lot of forces. Look, Apple, who would have thought this except a few people that it become what it became? Obviously, Jobs, to a certain degree, didn't early on. Even he didn't, right?
Yeah,
So, you know,
that's true.
jobs didn't. So I'm not so sure I'd say that, given if Apple looks to go up, let's say, doesn't mean everything else does. Because longer term, we think stocks, not yet, but in like a year or so, they really start to get pretty scary for several years. You know, not just a short-term move we see down now, but longer term down to the end of the decade. It's potentially quite risky, as you and I have discussed.
Yeah, and dollar too, huh?
Yeah.
So
But that's why it's best and people to watch the research. We don't put out so much long-term stuff in the research. Like Charles McGoldman, he told me he used to smuggle long-term into his shorter-term stuff because, you know, that wasn't what he was being paid for, but he saw it, so he would smuggle it in. So we smuggle in the long-term amidst the medium-term that we tend to write about.
Well, I find it interesting that gold finally looks like the bottom looks like it was put in a while ago. It looks like it's starting to move. And yeah,
let me say something. Those two things. It's starting to move. We're not sure this is the bottom yet. Like we see a move into August. Let it move up there, and let's see where we're holding then, because it may go way past it. It may go way down. I mean, I know that sounds pretty wishy-washy. That's helping people, but the reality is that's what we see. So it's something to think about.
But longer term into 16, that's where I think it's going to get interesting.
Yeah, interesting in either way.
Yeah.
Longer term, we think strong. I mean, much longer term. But I don't know if that longer term is happening yet. And why, we have no idea. We are, as you know, it's just repeating patterns, and then the information comes. I was just on BNN in Toronto last week, and the show they did before me when I was on, they talked about the case for crude strong, the bull case and the bear case. And when I got on, I said, I listened to that show. I actually rarely did something I rarely do. I arrived early, rather than 10 minutes before the appearance. And there's no traffic in Toronto like that. I just somehow, it's me. And I watched what they said. And I said, we're not that smart to know these things will happen, that happen. But if the numbers indicate something's going to head up, then the bull case will look back and go, that I was right. And if the numbers show it's going to come down and we're right predicting that, then the bear case will have proven to be right. But we don't know the things that people say A implies B. We don't think, number one, we're any smarter. Number two, there's very few people smart enough to figure that stuff out.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing I've learned over the course of my life. I'm not smart enough to know what's going to happen. So, if
Kerry, I tell you something, we're smart enough to think we know what's going to happen, timing and number. Why? Yeah. No idea.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
That's, I think, maybe say it a little differently.
So if I could look at the cycles, and the cycles are going to indicate what's going to happen to a greater precision, I'll go with them, because I know that I certainly don't know. Time has proved a bitter teacher.
Yeah. And what's nice about the cycles, quote unquote, is that since it's looking at the past, someone said, how do you know it works? I said, by definition, if we're following the past patterns, number one, the past is influencing the present, which, if you think about it, makes sense. You know, if you sprain your ankle as a kid, maybe later on you might have a bad ankle problem. Same thing with cycles. If there are tops in IBM every 3 months and every 9 months and 16 months and 23, those past tops are influencing the confluence of tops today that we're saying is a top, if that's the case.
Absolutely.
So, but there's just one other thing I wanted to add, that, again, people should write to the site, charlesdenner.com, and get a free month. But also, when they watch the news and they're hearing whatever they're hearing, they have to factor in this is generally paid for, platforms.
All of it.
So, so they have to recognize, just because someone's saying something doesn't mean it could be that's what he believes, but it's not necessarily an unbiased opinion by the place that's showing it, because they may have a long bias, which is what a lot of the shows do.
85% of that news, is paid for, David. 85% of that news is PR placement at the very least.
Let me tell you, PR, I used to have a friend that she was PR, had a PR for MoMA, Museum of Modern Art. She said, PR, you think is public relations. Nope, it stands for programmed response or planned reaction.
Hey, the other thing you have to understand is that reporters are some of the laziest people in the world. And they want a story prepackaged and dumped in their laps so they don't have to work. So then they can go out to the bar and drink. That's what they're all about.
Could be. I just tell you one thing. I was
trust me.
Two stations. You would know better. I was interviewed by two newspapers up in Toronto, and they're going to start. One's going to write a story. One's going to start putting our Canadian stuff in it online. And you're right. I mean, the reporters generally always ask, "What's your big story?" And what if I say I have nothing really big? Let me tell you what's right.
No, is that not what they want to hear?
No. Okay, you may be right, but I want to hear what's big so I could say, like they said, Gurwitz says $100 oil. Yeah, I said 149 when we had it. I said 49. But that's part of the problem with the press and the media. Look, the word media comes from, media, medium, mode, things in the middle.
Right.
And unfortunately, I think I'm 60 now, and you think back, as you know, I'm a musician.
Mm-hmm.
So I think about information that people hear, right? Because sound is a type of information, and information about bonds, whatever is information. I think people are overwhelmed today, as opposed to 2, 3, 5, 10 years ago even. And so you have to, at least when I'm in the press or even in what we write, as you know, we write something that's an ADD special. You could read the whole thing in 4 minutes.
That's so important. And
I think there should be schools only ADD. If you don't have ADD, you can't go in.
That's a great
You have to test for ADD, and if you don't have it, we don't want you. We only want ADD, because basically everyone will qualify. Everyone has ADD now.
Yeah.
So if we write something, Charles used to write what we do every day for Goldman. And his boss, the head of global macro trading, said to him, Charles, what do you think? We don't have ADD? Write it 3 times a week. We can't read 7 pages, 8 pages.
Oh, forget
So that's what came. That's how this one line, three items per category, come in, and seems to work for some reason. Anyway, Kerry, it's been a pleasure.
The average person's got the attention span of a tsetse fly.
Can I tell you, I saw something yesterday. I'm going to go that they did a test, and a goldfish has more attention span than a person. They have 9 seconds, and we have 8.
That's so true. Just give us the website again, how we connect with
CharlesNanner.com for the research. And like we were talking about music, DavidGurwitz.com for the music, and Survival Network.
Financial Survival
for Kerry Lutz.
Financial Survival Network. You find the link to Charles Nenner over there, and David Gurwitz. David, it's great catching up with you again, and we will talk to you again soon. These markets are definitely getting interesting.
Absolutely, Kerry. Always a pleasure.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.